If you love the rest of the story, subscribe now. Lieutenant Colonel Nagain P. Phong had been fighting the jungle war long enough to distinguish the quiet that meant safe from the quiet that meant safe from the quiet that meant safe from the quiet that meant safe. This was the latter. It was too quiet. So quiet. You could almost hear the sniper holding his breath in a tree out there somewhere. Colonel Phong quickly glanced about, trying to determine the source of the impending surprise. Any small thing might give it away. The trick was to detect that ostensibly insignificant something before losing your life to it. And there it was, a rustling in the foliage. Barely perceptible, yes, but out of sync with the breeze. And then a spark of sunlight on a gun sight. Colonel Phong turned to his patrol, marching along the rice paddy dike. Most were out of range, but one of the soldiers would be an easy target. Colonel Phong yelled, "Get down, Woody," and Woody dove for cover. In the next instant a hail of North Vietnamese ammo spattered the dike where he had stood. Return fire, mostly blind, in the direction of Colonel Phong's frantic gestures. Meanwhile, Woody on his belly now wriggled through the muck until he was clear of the enemy fire. And then as suddenly as the skirmish had begun, it was over. 15 minutes later, the South Vietnamese patrol had withdrawn a safe distance into the deep bamboo and stopped to rest. Woody, still shaken, curled up in a thicket and tried for sleep. And yet in that nether zone between wake and sleep came the voice of Colonel Phong once more. It was quiet, and even this time, Woody, the voice said, "Don't move, don't move. There's a bamboo viper about 2 inches from your right eye." Holding his head perfectly motionless, Woody looked to the right, finding himself staring straight into the yawning white mouth of a deadly snake. "Don't move, Woody. He will leave you alone if you'll just stay still." Woody's heart was pounding like thunder now. But he stayed still, and just as Colonel Phong had promised, after an interminable time, the creature lost interest and slithered away. When the paralyzing panic had passed, the near victim leaped up, bounded from the thicket. In the span of 20 minutes, Colonel Phong had saved his life twice. "Well, just don't forget it," the colonel would later grin. And Woody never forgot. All through his second tour of Vietnam, the two men fought side by side. Woody, although an American advisor, would be awarded a Silver Star by the South Vietnamese Army. And then he went home. He never heard from Lieutenant Colonel Nagain Phong again. But Woody did more than remember the man who had kept his name off that black slab in Washington. The Green Beret advisor, whom comrades had nicknamed Woody. Lieutenant Colonel Earl Woods kept a silent vow that his future son would bear the name of this valiant, vigilant South Vietnamese friend. Before today you'd never met the jungle-wise warrior to whom Earl Woods owed his life. But from now on, you will never forget that Colonel Phong had a wartime nickname too. They called the Colonel Tiger, and someday, in conversation soon, somebody will ask, where in the world did Tiger Woods get that name? Well, you'll be able to tell him the rest of the story.